Hello, Ivy here. Today's podcast is called It All Points to the Royal Palaces. Here we go. There has been considerable efforts made by British media, the Royal Rota Group in particular, to spend most of the working days and nights to haunt or use a variety of social media platforms for information to use in some way. In one or more pieces they like to describe as articles, in the hope that the clickbait tease will work in most, if not all, cases. Sussex Squad Global Network keeps receipts. Sussex Squad is a group of people from all walks of life, which includes professional, highly skilled, competent people who work or are retired from a variety of professions. The squad support Harry and Meghan for the people that they are and their approach to humanitarian projects. Not one member of the squad is a royalist. We have zero interest in what the British royal family do from day to day. None of the tax-funded royals have any attributes or personalities that appeal to a growing number of the population, and certainly not any of Sussex Squad. The squad are vigilant, and we look for trends and markers in the sand on a number of fronts. We will always challenge lies and deception. Since litigation has begun regarding Meghan and one of the tabloids, it is quite obvious where games are being played and how. This podcast is intended to refer to a few of those games being played in order that an audience outside of the royalist bubble will start to reconsider some of their thoughts on a few areas, and more importantly, it is hoped that some international networks, news networks, will listen to this podcast and possibly look further into a few of these activities. The following is a list, in no particular order, of some activities which warrant further questions and thoughts. In the current legal action between the Duchess of Sussex and one of the UK tabloids, it is noted that the editor of the Daily Mail testified that a senior member of the royal household provided them with confidential information on the Duchess. One has to question the value base and ethics in the royal family and their business associates in the media. Confidential information handed over from senior member of the royal household staff to the defendant in the current ongoing case, the Daily Mail. It is clear whenever someone in the royal household trips over something that should not be on the floor, metaphorically speaking, and the risk of yet another incident being highlighted in a small way in the UK press, but with a potential for it to receive more coverage in the international press, then a distraction story is needed to divert UK public away from the messy puddle that is now being removed with no signs left behind that it was ever there, in true movie mafia style. The standard distraction is to all write about some indignation or another concerning Harry or Meghan, preferably the latter, and if none exists, write about anything but put Meghan's name in the title. Articles relating to Meghan are always negative and unnecessarily critical, without fail. Something would always be published when a distraction of a genuine negative story was due to be published the same day about one or more members of the royal family. This approach provides a constant theme of negative press in the UK about the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan was informed that she could not defend herself about any articles published about her, whether or not they contain half-truths or complete lies. At the same time, a member of the same household was supplying information to the very tabloid who is the defendant in the current legal proceedings. Sussex Squad continue to comment on the silence of British media as a whole about this complicity within the royal household in relation to the passing of information to a tabloid, but no assistance regarding what was happening to Meghan, who gave approval for this to occur. Other tabloids made income from the same leaks, so there was no incentive for them to blow the whistle on their peers. Morals and ethics are well hidden in royal reporting, if they exist at all. Most like they are all in this together. When you have a nation's media operating according to a quid pro quo arrangement, i.e. meaning a favour or advantage granted in return for something, with its monarchy, then there will never be fair, honest or ethical reporting from either party. I have stated in articles and podcasts that the British royal family, newspaper owners, royal reporters and government officials work hand in hand to ensure preservation of each other. Royal reporters have no access to the Sussexes now, so now we have increased activity on the following. New social media accounts appearing over the last few weeks in particular. In a few cases, some pretend to be Sussex supporters, but most of them clearly are paid bots, and we have come to recognise trying to antagonise by using clickbait rhetoric. There are no palace sources now, or at least none that are high enough profile to obtain quality information. Royal family members cannot be seen to speak directly with the tabloids about such matters. Cannot be seen being the operative word. If members of the royal family talk to a tabloid, as opposed to tabloids as a whole, it is always handy to at least call it something else. For example, 5 new sculptured wooden elephants on display in the grounds of Highgrove. Only one tabloid was invited to this great occasion. For some reason, the conversation could not take place using electronic means or even a telephone. A photographer could have gone to take the 2 photos that appeared in the article. Who am I to question that only one tabloid was given access to this scoop? Why was the meeting held outside, next to aforementioned wooden sculptures? With ongoing legal proceedings, which could implicate members of the British royal family and tabloids, I am sure that it was a very important and crucial meeting that was required at that time. The sculptures were apparently in honour of the late brother of the Duchess of Cornwall, Markle, who was involved in a variety of conservation projects relating to elephants, and was apparently a wish of his to have these sculptured commissioned. The sculptures are life-size and were made by artisans in the jungles of southern India as part of a 125-strong herd. The date of the meeting at Highgrove was the 30th of October, 2020. Highgrove is the home of Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall. Prince Charles and the Duchess invited only the Daily Mail to this engagement. There were 19 comments posted under this article in the Daily Mail, 3 of which were negative. The Daily Mail switched off comments. Just like the Royal Instagram account, closed down comments following a stream of negative comments, thoughts, views about Prince Charles posted for a day. Yet Meghan was left to live with negative, racist, hostile, toxic comments sitting on all royal accounts for 4+ years. Negative posts about any other member of the royal family are either removed or the comment section switched off. Prior to the Prince Charles example, most of the time, negative comments about any other member of the royal family were generally removed. It It is useful to note that Prince Charles had a similar court case relating to copyright infringement, which he won. Cannot think what Prince Charles and only the Daily Mail could talk about in the garden of Highgrove, apart from honouring the Duchess of Cornwall, ensuring that her late brother got his wish for these sculptures to be made. I mean, what else could possibly come to mind that no other tabloid would be that interested in? It is a mystery. Twitter has had a recent purge of accounts containing hate-filled or toxic posts. Within days of this purge, hundreds of accounts disappeared from the Kensington Palace account. Some may have jumped before they were pushed, but it is not coincidental that all of my previous points are being ignored by UK media outlets. But hopefully, after this podcast airs, it will be shared with international media. I found a few new accounts today whilst researching for this podcast of new members to Twitter, following and posting on the Kensington Palace Twitter account. The ones I looked at openly stated in their bio that they were MAGA supporters. Make America Great Again. Some stated that they supported Donald Trump. Some openly said that their old account had been removed by Twitter and that this was the new one that they were using. One of the accounts I looked at stated that, unlike mainstream biased news, it reports what should be reported. End of quote. Some of these accounts have large numbers of followers, but they only follow a few news networks in the USA and Canada in particular. Some accounts follow thousands and have almost the same numbers following back. Most of the same people. It seems that royal social media accounts attract these people with extreme racist views. I wonder why. Recent reports about some social media platforms being removed, such as Parler, which was the new home for extreme right-wing people who were banned from other social media platforms, not only Twitter. On the 6th of January, it was reported that a video had been uploaded onto the Parler site. The site was closed down a few hours later, along with many others from various locations relating to the storming of the Washington Capitol building. The internet ID of various people who were posting things about the attack on the Capitol building on this date was tracked, and records uploaded by the authorities and other groups who have access to such processes. One video was uploaded from Kensington Palace. Their ID location address appeared on the list, and it was uploaded to this right-wing site of Parler. All references on search engines started to disappear pretty quickly once that information was out there. New accounts appeared trying to explain away why the KP Internet ID appeared on this tracking, and the video of a few minutes of the insurrection was uploaded onto this unsavoury site. One poster I read said it could not have been Kensington Palace, and that it must have been Kensington Gardens, because the gardens are open to the public. I did not respond, but I was tempted. Not least, Kensington Gardens is not open 24 hours. It opens at 6:30 a.m. and closes at dusk, in quotations. The time varies dependent on the time of the year. There is also a small matter of time difference. The insurrection started around noon, Washington, D.C. time, and lasted for about 4 hours. UK time is 8 hours ahead. The gardens closed on the 6th of January at 16:30 p.m. There is a road that goes right through the gardens, and only personnel with permits are allowed to use it. So, even if this video was uploaded from a vehicle on this road through KP Gardens, it would still be an employee. Who would be wandering around Kensington Gardens after midnight UK time and randomly upload a video during the Capitol invasion and then upload to the right-wing site? Regardless, the upload states Kensington Palace as the source. Once again, no UK media are reporting on this either. Latest game being played by royal family offices. In this case, once again, Kensington Palace is the location. A new poster on Twitter claiming to be a student at a northern UK university and claimed that it was gathering information for a thesis via a questionnaire. The questionnaire was all about Meghan and her support base, i.e. Sussex Squad. This so-called student sent questionnaires to a number of small Sussex Squad accounts via direct message. Appeared to avoid the longer established and more prolific posters on the platform. Experienced squad members were approached by some of those who had received this questionnaire, inquiring about its validity. Transpired that this person was unlikely to be a student at the stated university, and even if that was the case, it was unlikely this calibre of questionnaire would have been acceptable. After timely research by established members, it transpired that this individual is an intern at Kensington Palace. The information is on LinkedIn. There are a host of questions to be asked about the subterfuge. First of all, about the identity of this person and the tale of researching for a university. Questions about personal information, confidential information, no documents about any of that, no mention of working as an intern at Kensington Palace. Some, but not many, have completed the questionnaire. So now, Kensington Palace has private details of a number of individuals, and on data protection alone, they are in serious breach of regulations. All of the questions relate to Meghan and the Sussex Squad. It seems they are looking for information about the Sussexes, as there is no palace source now. But bizarrely, the focus is on Meghan and the squad. Why would Kensington Palace want to spend time asking questions about Meghan? Why not about the Cambridges? One question seemed to assume that the support base was somehow lost because of, and I quote, Markle and Harry's divorce from the royal family. How have you reacted to that? End of quote. Apart from the huge disrespect referring to Meghan by her maiden name, but the Christian name of her husband, no university research team would approve such a poorly and unprofessional worded document like that. There seems to be a belief that the squad is bereft without them, as though they don't believe our support moved with them to Canada and then to the USA. It never was with any of the royal family, and now that Sussexes have moved, so have we. It seems someone wants to know how Meghan and Harry attracted such a support base, so that KP can do their usual copy and paste action and somehow achieve global support. It has simply gone over their heads that none of the relevant royals hold much interest with people under the age of 50, and none of the Sussex supporters ever followed royals. We follow Harry and Meghan, and we moved with them. There is nothing that KP can learn from a questionnaire that they can do anything with but dream about a support base like the Sussexes have. This deception will backfire spectacularly. Just watch. Those claiming to be Cambridge fans are not supporters of any royal. They occupy Kensington Palace accounts and other royal social media accounts because they can post vile things about Harry and Meghan, and the posts will be left there, or they have been for the past 4 years. The same faux Cambridge fans target Sussex charity social media accounts and post the most vile things. It shames the UK and only reinforces support from those same charities because they can see the benefits that Harry and Meghan have brought to their respective organisations, and they now have first-hand knowledge of the behaviour of Cambridge so-called fan base, who offer very limited support to Cambridge charities and who are there because they meet and liaise with like-minded toxic people and who can post their bile freely so far. One royal reporter did a similar exercise of collecting posters' private data on the pretext of setting up a group of people of colour to talk about racism. Never heard any more about it. It never took place. The same reporter has form for contacting people's employers if they post things he does not like. He does it to try and cause individuals to lose their jobs or at the very least cause problems for them in the workplace. The same royal reporter then contacted pals of his in a USA newspaper telling them all about his version of events and naming individuals and their employers contacted and why he was doing this. All of his arguments on Twitter are with black women. The phrases and terminology used on his burner accounts are such that at least one was shut down permanently because of the content. It is interesting that the same British royal family offices, royal reporters, are the common denominator in using this collection of data for alternative reasons as those offered up front. This also should be looked at by decent journalism. It does not exist in the UK, so once again, I am hoping that a news network outside of the UK explores some of these issues further. My final point, it is noted that all the links to the above points are Kensington Palace or Clarence House. At the moment, only senior staff have been implicated in legal proceedings. Either the British royal family know nothing about what their staff do, indicating poor leadership, again, or they are complicit because the instruction came from the top to discredit the Sussexes. Either option, none of the groups mentioned throughout this podcast look good. Please, international news networks, take a deep dive into one or more of the activities spoken about earlier in this podcast. Data protection is a very serious regulatory process to breach, and it is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of questionable activity going on here. In the UK, protected by those groups who will be adversely affected by an investigation into any one of the above issues, they appear to have an invisible wall of protection around them. Justice for a few groups who are protected and protecting a system that only they benefit from against a backdrop of a mammoth machine used against those who are deemed to seek change for a better and fair society, historically will always fail at some point. But at what cost? I close with the words of Amanda Gorman, the USA Youth Poet Laureate who performed at the presidential inauguration on the 20th of January this year and who impressed the world. If we merge mercy with might, and might with right, then love becomes our legacy. For there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it. I'll end this podcast there. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully it creates debate, and I particularly hope it creates debate in a number of international news networks. for the sake of decent journalism standards and looking after and reporting on groups affected by these sorts of actions, not only with members of the royal family, but ordinary citizens, please, someone look into at least one or more of the points raised in this podcast. Thanks, everyone. Bye.